with the draft over, I thought it would be time to do some predictions, but I wanted to put my own little spin on it. So I've asked ChatGPT to predict the 2025 AFL season. We have got to do the full ladder, finals fixture, obviously the Premier runners-up, the Brownlow, Rising Star, Coleman and Norm Smith to get through in this video. Let's waste no time and just get into it. Starting off in 18th spot, we have North Melbourne, which I feel like is quite a surprise. They got Finn O'Sullivan added to that midfield. They're probably expecting more from them. In 17th, West Coast. Pretty standard. Could bolt up a bit, but yeah, they're probably still not around any higher. It's reasonable prediction. 16, Gold Coast Suns as well. I think it's general range they could be in. Maybe could be higher. And a big surprise. Obviously, I don't know how up to date the knowledge of ChatGPT is on AFL especially. But they got Hawthorn in 15th, which maybe made sense this time last year. Really doesn't. I think they're probably 10 spots off where they should be. 14th, GWS. They could be higher, they could be lower. Really, it's a pretty solid prediction. 13th, Adelaide. Adelaide in 13th. Probably a bit of a disappointing season for them. They would have expected higher, but obviously not. Essendon in 12th. You're adding Kako into the mix. Will they be better than this? Probably. Will they win a final? Probably not. 11th, Geelong, I feel, is probably an underachievement for them. They have lost Hawkins and Tui over the off-season, but they drafted decently. 10th, we have St Kilda. And if you're wondering where exactly Richmond is, have they forgot Richmond, or... No, they're not. Which, it would be an incredible result for them. They're expected to finish 18th. I think this data and the base that ChatGPT is using is most definitely from 2020, 2021, maybe even early 2022. Into the finals now with Freo. Probably their range. A lot of these are going to be, stock standard. I can see one here that's quite a big surprise to me. So, I would put maybe 10 spots lower. But wait for that. Bulldogs in 7th. Maybe a bit overachieved. They could have done worse, could have done... that's a pretty reasonable prediction. I think 6th is probably their best they could finish as low as 13th, really. Carlton in 6th. Adding Jagger Smith, you'd want to finish higher. And they certainly have the talent, but if they can keep it together for a whole year is another thing. If they can stay injury-free, again, another thing. So 6th, obviously, could be high. They could still win the flag. Who knows? You have to stay tuned for that. Sydney in 5th is probably low for them. Grand final hangover, yes, but, again, it doesn't know that. It really does not know that. But it's reasonable. Port Adelaide in 4th, which I feel quite high. They added Jack Whitlock and a few others into their team. Obviously, Whitlock replacing the outgoing Dixon, who's retired. Possible. Anything's possible. St Kilda could win the flag, Richmond could win the flag, anyone could win the flag. And into the top 3 then, Melbourne. And this is what I was talking about earlier, the team I think should be 10 places lower. I just don't see anything happening for Melbourne. I don't see a solid future. I see mediocrity and struggles. I struggle to see them winning anything within at least the next 5-10 years. They peaked in 21 and they solid throughout 22, but obviously went out in straight sets and repeated that in 23 as well. Collingwood in 2, which solid. Probably I would have put them a bit lower. But this, I'm assuming this is based off data from the end of 2023, given that Harley Reid was originally what they picked as a Rising Star. And then we got, obviously, that means number 1 is Brisbane. Reigning premiers, they would be in 25. No real signs of turning back other than losing Joe Danaher. But into finals then. Elimination finals, Sydney beating Freo. and Carlton beating the Bulldogs. Qualifying, Brisbane beat Port and Melbourne beat Collingwood. Semis, it's Port beating Carlton, Collingwood beating Sydney, which means we have a setup of a Brisbane-Collingwood prelim, which Brisbane do get the edge of and win. And surprisingly, Melbourne beat Port Adelaide in the prelim, but they don't ultimately win it, as Brisbane do defeat Melbourne in the grand final by 15 points to win back-to-back premierships. Brownlow medal then, Nick Dacos. Not too bold prediction. I mean, he came second highest vote count ever, highest vote count without winning. Not obviously. Charlie Curnow picks up the Norm Smith medal with 85 goals, and Lachie Neale best on ground in the grand final, winning himself the Norm Smith. And the key note says here, Brisbane's depth and experience helped them to claim their first premiership since 2003. Obviously, that's wrong. It should be 2024. Nick Dacos has another outstanding season, dominating midfield stats. Charlie Curnow remains Carlton's spearhead, securing back-to-back Coleman medals. Obviously, Hogan won this year, but whatever. And yeah, that's it. I think it is interesting to see. Obviously, as wrong as it is and as inaccurate as it is, it doesn't have full data. It's not perfect. I think I'd rather watch someone who has a lot of knowledge on it talk predictions, and that will come later once we get into preseason. But I wanted to get something out related to the season predictions, and I thought this is probably a good way to do it. If you liked it, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in